Chapter 10. Naruto, Desert Flower. Kanahagakure no Sato. Temari walked through the streets back towards the hotel, her mood completely ruined by that damned Uchiha and his overgrown ego. She was actually happy that Itachi had massacred the whole clan. If all of them were stuck-up pricks like that bastard, then she held no ill will to him. She would have done it herself if she had to live with so many bastards at once. No wonder he had cracked, she mused, and walked back to the hotel room. She went in and saw Gaara and Kankuro almost ready to leave, and they smiled at seeing her. "Yo Temari, where were you? It's almost time to go. I thought we would have had to leave without you," said Kankuro, and she frowned and answered. "That bastard Uchiha came stalking me at the training grounds, and it took me some time to tell him off," she said in disgust, and the room was filled with killing intent courtesy of Gaara. "Did he give you any troubles?" he asked, and his voice was hollow, showing the bloodlust, and she smiled and shook her head. "I can take care of myself, Gaara, don't worry, and I told him off good," she said, and he nodded as he calmed down, and Kankuro sighed in relief. "Let's go and get the council meeting done with," said Gaara and Temari, and Kankuro nodded, moving out of the hotel and started walking down to the Hokage Tower. Hokage Tower. Council Chambers. The council was sitting waiting for the delegation from Suna to arrive, and were whispering to each other about the alliance terms and how to add some points that would benefit them greatly in the future. The elders were greatly discussing of all the possible gains from the marriage alliance with Wave and Spring become their allies again, and them gaining Suna's newfound sealing skills and the upgraded barrier and security seals. Tsunade was listening all of their rants, greatly annoyed on the inside at their glimmering eyes and almost drooling faces of the whole council. Power-hungry bastards. They would sell their own children if it meant a bit more power for them, she thought, annoyed as she listened to Koharu and Hamura rant to her with a fake smile, and nodded, not caring in the least what the old coots were ranting on about. She was wondering about Temari and her unusual behavior from the previous day, and knew that she wholeheartedly loved her fiancé if her glances were any indication. She herself, being a woman, knew when a girl would give those glances and blushes meant that she loved him dearly, and if what she knew and deducted was right, then it was that new prodigy and their currently temporary Kazekage. But the thing that kept bugging her from yesterday was the design of that damn ring. She was definitely sure that it was platinum ring in the shape of a nine-tailed fox with that blood-red diamond haunting her dreams last night. But why would she wear such a strangely designed ring unless it meant something to her or her fiancé? The only person that could associate greatly with the king of the demons was. Can it be? Is he alive and well in Suna? I hope he is. Please, Kami, let him be happy. If he is there, I only wish he could be alive and live happily there. It's the least I could do to make up for my powerlessness all those years ago, she thought sadly, with a little bit of hope that her little blonde Gaki could be alive. She was broken out of her thoughts as the doors to the chambers opened, and in walked the Suna delegation. The whole room went silent as they had huge smiles plastered on their faces that made Temari feel disgusted, as many of them were staring at her as if she was a piece of meat that they could sell for a big profit. Temari and Gaara took their seats in front of the council, as she crossed one leg over the other, crossing her fingers and masking a blank look on her face. Koharu, seeing the silence, decided to start the talks from the previous day. Kazekage Dano, as we have talked yesterday, we are proposing to create a long-term alliance that we have proposed to solidify through a political marriage between your sister Temari and Sasuke Uchiha from our side, the last loyal Uchiha and a clan head himself. The terms that we present to you are on the paper there, she said, snapping her fingers as an ANBU handed Gaara a scroll, which he handed to Temari, knowing that she was the most ruthless negotiator the Sand had, and was the reason of the strong alliances with the Spring and Wave. Temari took the scroll and started reading it, and concentrated on each and every word, as she saw that it was full of garbage pints, wherein between some there were some finely put in points that made her eyebrows furrow, and she took a pencil from the table and started underlining those intelligently put in points in smart words that would be missed by anyone who didn't have the skills she had at negotiations. She finished reading and reread it to see if she hadn't misread anything, and her blood boiled at seeing the fine points that were completely tilting the alliance in their favor. She handed the scroll to Gaara and gazed at the council, who were all there with smiles plastered on their faces, and she smiled back as she thought of the fools they were thinking they could outwit her, and were thinking of them as stupid due to their young age. Gaara took the scroll and saw how much time it took Temari, and started reading the small underlined sentences that she had marked and started reading over them, and saw she had made some fine notes beside them. The leaf shall have a mutual alliance with the wave and spring, and any other trading allies the sand might come across in the future. The leaf shall share their information on seals with the sand, and the same shall be done from the side of the hidden sand village. The security systems of the two villages shall be up to par with each other to show the strength of the villages to the enemies. Missions from the trading partners shall be shared between the two villages to help solidify the alliance. The leaf shall provide the strength to the sand in war times, and the same shall be done from the side of the sand village. Temari shall have traveling rights to both the villages to travel freely, but their children shall be complete citizens of the leaf. She shall provide with enough heirs to repopulate the Uchiha clan back to glory. Both villages will share their strategic intel on common enemies, and will exchange prisoners the other village requires for. Leaf shall provide with its native resources, and the same shall be done from the side of the sand at a price predisclosed by the leaf. The leaf will provide with the militaristic strength the sand needs in times of extreme stressful situations. The leaf shall provide the sand with some medical knowledge to increase the medical prowess of the sand. Gaara clutched the scroll tightly in his hands as he read the fine notes written by his sister, and turned to the elders, smiled, and gave them a death glare making them shiver. He was barely stopping himself from crushing the council in his sand. "So let me get this straight," he said stoically as they listened carefully. "The leaf gets our prowess in seals and our security system and barrier skills, our missions and our trade alliances with our allies, my sister's hand in marriage to the last Uchiha who you are planning for breeding purposes, our resources at predisclosed prices." He finished as Tsunade was wide-eyed and slammed her hand on her desk, startling the council. "None of these points were discussed with me. How dare you change and add so many points without my permission?" she asked coldly as the whole council shivered from the killing intent she released, and Koharu tried to calm the situation down. Now Tsunade, we added them for the betterment of both our villages, and show the alliance, and our villages stand strong together," she said as Gaara cut her off as he spoke up. "Oh, the sand benefits quite a bit, all right. The only thing I see in our favor is that Temari gets dual citizenship, but her children are loyal citizens to the leaf, your militaristic help, and some medical knowledge that you shall decide on how much to share." "Do you take us for fools?" he asked coldly as both the Kages glared, and leaked their killing intents at the council, making them gulp. "Kazekage Dano, we can discuss these points and negotiate these points further. There is no need for any hard words," she said, trying to calm him down but failing miserably. All the while the whole council was cursing Temari and her sharp eyes to deduce each and every point to perfection and catch on to their ploys. Danzo too was seething at the plan to get their children for the village with their precious Kekkei Genkai and strong royal blood loyal to the leaf, and their prowess of seals and barrier security, and that they had caught on to his points that he had put in so carefully after discussing it with the shinobi clan heads who themselves wanted to propose future marriages between their children and Temari's to strengthen their own clans. Tsunade was gritting her teeth at how they were screwing up the relations with the last neutral village. She was about to reprimand the council as Gaara stood up and threw the scroll in front of her, landing on her desk. "It is clear that your village is taking me and my sister for a young fool, Hokage Dano. I'm sorry, but there shall be no marriage with my sister, or any shinobi from the sand after this. I was already against this political marriage, but you have just destroyed the chance for a good alliance to strengthen both of our villages," he said coldly, and she stood up with an apologetic face, glaring at the council who were about to whine and protest at the fact that he had outright rejected the last Uchiha in marriage and shutting them up. "I apologize, Kazekage Dano, these points were added without my knowledge, believe me. Do not act in haste, our villages have been old comrades in arms and have seen many wars together, and come out winning. I don't care for this political marriage, but the alliance is a must for both our villages' strengths. She said apologetically, and with a genuine sorry face. Your council's actions state otherwise, Hokage Dano. He said, and she cut him off. Yes, I agree, Kazakage Dano, I have allowed them way too much leeway for too long, and it's about time that matters were taken into my own hands. Please believe me when I say I had the best of intentions for this alliance for both sides, and please do not make both villages suffer because of some fools. She said, and he stood in silence for a few moments as he sighed when Temari put a hand over his shoulder telling him to do what he thought was right. Very well then, Hokage Dano. I trust you on your word, and you're alone. He said, glaring at the council, who flinched and smartly said nothing. If you genuinely care for your village and this alliance, then we shall continue these talks during the third part of the Chunin exams that will be held in the sand. I have appointed Temari as the liaison for the first two parts of the exams in the leaf, and she will be the head for planning the third part too. We shall continue these talks then. For now, let's discuss the matter of the Chunin exams then. He was saying as suddenly the door to the chambers opened abruptly, and in came running a Chunin, and this infuriated Tsunade to no end, who was already in a foul mood. She slammed her fist on the desk, cracking it, and leaked her killing intent at the Chunin, who gulped, and was trembling in fear of the furious blonde Hokage. I swear this village is taking me too lightly, and insubordination is now becoming a habit here. Chunin, whoever the hell you are, better have a good reason for barging in a council meeting with the Kazakage so abruptly, or I swear I'll break your ribs, heal them and break them again, until I can't anymore. She said icily as the Chunin gulped, wondering what the hell had he done wrong to get such a death threat, and the whole council was trying to sink in their seats, not wanting to come into her vision. Gaara and Temari were smiling at Tsunade, seeing her take charge for the first time like a true Kage. Hokage-sama T, there is an urgent message from T, the sand sent with T, their fastest sea carrier bird used for emergencies. It is sealed with a really high-level blood seal attuned only to Kazakage-sama. He stuttered out in fear as Tsunade calmed down and took deep breaths. She had blown up on an innocent Chunin, who was doing his job right for once in this goddamned village, and nodded, taking the scroll as he ran out in fear, and she sighed, handing the scroll to Gaara. Gaara took the scroll and wondered what the hell was so urgent to send a secured letter to him so urgently. Uzumaki, you better not have blown up a part of the village and given me some paperwork, or I swear I'll get you before Temari stops me. He thought, biting his thumb, and smeared it on the scroll as it glowed, and the seals disappeared, and the scroll flicked open. As he read its contents, his blood ran cold with every sentence. Gaara-sama, the village was invaded yesterday by the Akatsuki. Naruto-sama took on the invaders that were identified as Deidara Iwa's Mad Bomber and Sasori of the Red Sands. They engaged Naruto-sama, but he held them back and secured the village. Sasori is now Kia, and Deidara has escaped without a trace by using a distraction to blow up half the village, which Naruto-sama took care of, but Naruto-sama was injured by the poison of Sasori and is unconscious. His demonic chakra is taking care of the poison, but it will take some time, seeing the potency of the poison and how less chakra he had due to suffering from severe chakra exhaustion during the battle, and his body is too strained to use that much demoni chakra at once to heal him completely, and is healing slowly. The medics say he'll be fine, but as per his last orders, I have been ordered to recall you immediately, and am taking care of the village until you return or Naruto-sama wakes up. The village is in a state of emergency protocol, and we wait for your return. There were no casualties and minimal damage to the village as Naruto-sama defended everyone with great courage and skills. Dragon, ANBU Commander. Gaara stood there frozen as he reread the letter, and his eyes were wide as saucers and held an expression of disbelief on his face as Tsunade and Temari saw it and wondered what the hell had gotten into him. Temari shook his shoulder and he flinched a bit, and then channeled wind chakra in his palms, shredding the message completely, and stood up, shocking the whole council. I'm sorry, Hokage Dano, but we have to return to the village immediately. There is a matter of great importance in the village that needs me back, he said, and Tsunade was shocked as she saw the stoic Gaara in haste and hurry to leave. Is everything all right, Kazekage Dano? She asked, and he sighed as he saw the curious eyes of everyone, including Temari. The sand village was invaded yesterday by the Akatsuki, he said as they all went wide-eyed, and Danzo smirked at their foolishness. The Jinchuriki wasn't even in the village at the time they invaded, but they would have made quite a lot of damage if his worry was any indication. Who were the invaders, Kazekage Dano? Asked Hayashi as everyone looked on curiously. Deidara Iwa's Mad Bomber and Sasori of the Red Sands, he said, shocking the whole council. Both of them were capable of destroying small villages on their own, and were now wondering how much damage the village must have suffered before they went out, but were shocked as he continued. My friend that I left as the Kazekage in my stead fought them both to a standstill, he said, shocking the council as they wondered how skilled he must have been when he continued. He killed Sasori, but Deidara escaped by creating a distraction, and he made sure there were no casualties in the battle, and that the damage to the village was kept at a minimum. He is unconscious and is recovering from the battle, and I have been recalled to the village to take charge. He finished as the whole room became deathly silent, and Shikako spoke up as his laziness lay forgotten by the news he heard. Wait, so let me get this straight, your temporary replacement fought two of the most destructive shinobi capable of jutsus to level battalions by themselves to a standstill. Then he killed Sasori while Deidara escaped by a distraction, all the while making sure that not one life was endangered, he asked in a stunned summary, getting a nod in return. Troublesome, he said with a sigh as Inoichi and Choza snickered while Tsunade twitched at the laziest comment. Temari, though, was a different case altogether. How is he? She asked, shaking Gaara by his shoulders, who put his hands on her shoulders, calming her down, and saw her watering eyes and trembling bottom lip. He saw that his strong sister was about to cry and answered her to calm her down. He is fine, Temari, just a bit poisoned, and he will be fine. You know, a bit of poison isn't enough to keep him down. He'll wake up in a few days. He was cut off as Temari let him go, and her eyes hardened as she slung her fan and started walking out. Temari, where are you going? He asked, and she looked at him as if he was stupid, and he himself felt stupid looking at her expression, but she answered nonetheless. Where do you think I'm going? I'm going to be by my fiancé's side as he is injured. He would do the same for me in a heartbeat, and that's exactly what I'm about to do, she said, and started walking out as he spoke up again along with Danzo. But what about the Chunin exams? You are in charge and need to. Both were cut off as she gazed at them icily, making them both shiver, and Tsunade and the rest of the women in the room to smirk. Now that was a girl who knew what she wanted, and there was no stopping that force of nature. To hell with you, the villages, and all your diplomacies. I'm going to his side, and am not leaving until I have held him in my arms and made sure he is the same as how I left him. If you want to stop me, then try it, she said, threatening and looking at them icily, and Gaara sighed and turned to Tsunade, who had an amused and proud smirk on her face. Now that was a girl who could stand up for herself in front of two Kages, no less, she mused. I'm sorry, Hokage Dano, but it looks like Shikamaru will have to take care of the arrangements for a few days until she can return back, he said apologetically as he saw Temari walk out without even listening to his decision, and sighed, face-palming, while Kankuro snickered. It's quite all right, Kazekage Dano, I can see she cares for him deeply, and even if she was forced to stay, her attention would be back as soon. So Shikamaru can take care of the arrangements, and she could review them when she returns. Plus, that lazy ass will have to work for once. She muttered the last part under her breath, getting snickers from those who heard her. Troublesome blondes, said Shikaka, making Tsunade twitch and Kankuro to laugh. You are lucky Temari wasn't here to hear you say that, or things would have gotten out of hand, said Kankuro, laughing as Shikaka sighed. All women were troublesome, especially the hyperactive blondes, whose lovers were hurt, he thought. All right, Kazekage Dano, I guess I'll see you and continue these talks during the third part of the Chunin exams. Don't let me keep you, you must want to leave now. she said with a smile, and Gaara smiled and nodded back gratefully, and left after a handshake, as the council members started to leave quietly when Tsunade snapped her fingers and her personal ANBU locked the doors, and she turned to them with a really too sweet of a smile with her closed eyes, and a vision of the Shinigami appeared behind her, making them all gulp. Now let's talk about insubordination to Akage, and the new rules for the council, she said, smiling sweetly, and they all glanced at each other and nodded nervously to Tsunade, who motioned for them to take a seat. Konohagakure no Sato. Village streets. Sasuke was going through the streets looking for Shikamaru as he turned to the barbecue place and saw him walking out and smirked at finding him. "Hey Nara, wait up," he shouted as Shikamaru turned to him with a raised eyebrow and looked around, seeing if he really had called him. "What do you want, Uchiha?" he asked neutrally in a dismissive tone, making Sasuke frown, but he shrugged it off, seeing he needed the lazy ass for his own purpose now. "Well, I wanted to talk to you about the Chunin exams. You are in charge for them from our village, right?" he asked, and Shikamaru raised an eyebrow and nodded, not seeing where he was going with this. "Yes, I am. What do you want to do with them?" "The last I heard, you thought taking on a genin team was a waste of time and not worthy of the last Uchiha's time," he said, making the Uchiha scowl, but he didn't retort and shrugged his tone off. "Yes, well, I was interested in seeing some new talent from the other villages and was curious." "So who is in charge from the sand this time?" he asked, trying to gather up information. "The last I heard, it was Temari no Sabaku, and she is supposed to meet me today in the evening after her council meeting," he said in a suspicious tone, not believing his answer for his newfound interest, and saw as his eyes brightened up at Temari's name. "Temari, huh? So what else do you know about her?" he asked curiously, and the Nara's eyes narrowed at the Uchiha. "Where are you going with this, Uchiha? Get to the point," he said in a tone of finality, making Sasuke frown, and he nodded. "I want a way to go to Sand and see the last part of the Chunin exams there. Get me into security or something else for the important figures. I don't care what you do, but I want to go to Suna for the exam finals," he said bluntly, and Shikamaru's eyes narrowed further. He is strong, and we need willing jounin for security duty and escorts. But that still doesn't answer why he wants to go so badly," he thought, eyeing the Uchiha's face suspiciously. "What's with the newfound interest, Sasuke?" he asked, and Sasuke frowned. "I told you I wanted to see new talent from the other." He was cut off as Shikamaru scoffed. "Yeah, you wanted to see genin fight it out with each other. You could fool anyone else but not me. Tell me the truth if you need my help," he said stoically, and Sasuke was angry at his dismissive tone and answer, but gritted his teeth silently, knowing he was the one in need of a favor right now. "There is a new strong shinobi in the sand that I have heard much about, and he will definitely be at the exams. I want to check him out," he said, telling him the half-truth, and Shikamaru nodded, knowing he was hiding something else too. "And what's with your interest in knowing about Temari?" he asked, and Sasuke narrowed his eyes and clenched his knuckles at finding his point so easily, but replied honestly. "She intrigues me. I want to get to know her better too. She is not like the pathetic fangirls of our age, and is a true kunoichi. She laughs at my clan status, and isn't afraid to talk or fight me back if she wants, and is beautiful too. She has royal heritage, holds herself in strength and power with elegance of a fine woman, and I am interested in her, and want to get close to her. She is perfect for me and I like her. Going to Suna serves me two purposes at once. There you have the truth from me," he said, making Shikamaru frown in jealousy, but he smirked a moment later, making Sasuke confused. "So she told you off, right? You went to talk to her, and she blew the great Uchiha off without a thought, and it hurts your pride," he said smugly, getting a chance to poke the Uchiha, who fumed as he remembered the conversation he had with the Sand Princess. "Are you going to help me or not?" he asked finally, and Shikamaru turned serious. "All right, we need jounin with good skills for security and as escorts, and I will get you to the third part, and you could get to see that shinobi that you are curious about," he said, and Sasuke smirked as he continued. "But listen carefully, Uchiha, I like Temari, and have for a long time. If you are trying to play with her. He was cut off as Sasuke spoke up. I want to marry her and make her the Uchiha matriarch. I don't care if you like her or not, but she will be mine. I'll see to it and make her fall for me. Thanks for getting me in the exams, now I'll leave. I have to train and I'm wasting precious time. He stopped as he saw Temari coming their way walking and smirked. Shikamaru saw his trailing voice and followed his gaze to Temari, and smiled at seeing how beautiful she become from the last time he saw her, and just as he was about to call her, Sasuke stood in front of her with a sly smile, trying to win her over and get her on a date. Hey there, beautiful, let's. He was cut off as Temari shoved him away and he fell onto his butt. Get the hell out of my way, Uchiha, I have important matters to attend to than to listen to your pathetic flirting. She growled and kept walking without sparing him a glance as everyone around snickered quietly, while Shikamaru was laughing wholeheartedly, making him furious as he glared at him. Oh, that's rich. The Uchiha just got burned in the middle of the street, and she pushed you away without even sparing a glance. Way to go there, Casanova, you are well on your way to win her all right. He said, laughing, and Sasuke seethed at him and turned his gaze at the glorious back of Temari, and watched her elegant walk, and traced his eyes on her figure, smirking and licking his lips at her well-toned figure, and the way she walked as he gazed at her firm back and well-toned legs. Yes, you will be mine. Just let me show you how great I am against that fiancé of yours, and then I'll swipe you off your feet. He thought, smirking, and walked off, ignoring Shikamaru's laughs, and went to train with Kakashi. Shikamaru, though, wanted to go and talk to her, but saw that she was in no mood for talking, then saw Gaara and Kankuro trying to catch up to her, and was confused but decided to let it be for the time being. He'll see it during the arrangements for the exams, he mused, and walked away with his hands in his pockets. Village gates. Hey Temari, wait up, we are coming too, shouted Kankuro as he and Gaara walked up to her, and she didn't even spare them a glance and kept walking. Temari, he'll be fine. He was cut off as Temari spoke up, talking to herself. That idiot, I leave him alone for 5 days, and he gets into a fight with not one but 2 S-class shinobi, and takes them on, and that too on his own, then goes and gets injured. I swear when I see him I'll introduce him to a whole new world of pain and introduce him to the joys of my fan that he has never before felt, and he'll pray I was one of those 2 that he fought after I am done with him. She ranted, jumping through the trees as Gaara silently listened, and Kankuro gulped, remembering the precious treatment of her fan, and prayed for the half-dead blonde to stay alive after she was done with him. Gaara saw her furious expression and decided to stay silent, knowing only one person could calm her down, and she was currently furious with him. Kankuro was trembling at the small amounts of killing intent his furious sister was leaking, and stayed silent as they trudged to the sand village silently.
Alright guys, that's gonna be part, why do I keep on forgetting what part it is? It is part 10 of What If Naruto Was Abandoned by the Leaf and Taken in by the Sand. Thank you guys so much for all the subscribers and all the support on the previous video. And I think I took it a little bit too easy on y'all. I said 20 likes. And the video has, well, let me double check real quick, but yeah, 79 likes in 18 hours. Thank you guys so much. I'm not gonna go as easy on you guys this time. Can we get 50 likes on this part for part 11? Thank you guys so much for all the support on all of my videos, and later tonight I will either be doing what if Naruto was a red flash, or what if Naruto was abandoned by the leaf and taken in by the sand. Thank you guys so much. Peace.